Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivraj Pachara Srimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanara Minda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Sri Gaurnitai Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Govardhana Dari Ki Jai Sri Sri Krishna Balaram Sri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Gaura Premanandi Oh glories to the assembled devotees Oh glories to the assembled devotees Oh glories to the assembled devotees Oh glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda. Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 17, text 8, and we'll also read text 9 this morning, everyone. Tabeta Karila Prabhu Gayate Gamana Ishvara Purya Sange Tatai Milana Tabeta Karila Prabhu Gayate Gamana Ishvara Purya Sange Tatai Milana. Vaishnavi? Tabeta. Thereafter, Karila did Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gayate, to Gaya, Gamana, travel, Ishvara, Puriya, Sange, with Ishvara Puri, Tatai, there, Milana, meeting. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Thereafter the Lord went to Gaya. There he met Srila Ishvara Puri. Please repeat. Thereafter the Lord went to Gaya. There he met Srila Ishvara Puri. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gaya to offer respectful oblations to his forefathers. This process is called Pindadana. In Vedic society, after the death of a relative, especially one's father or mother, one must go to Gaya and there offer oblations to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, hundreds and thousands of men gather in Gaya daily to offer such oblations, or shraddha. Following this principle, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also went there to offer pinda to his dead father. Fortunately, he met Ishvara Puri there. Text 9. Diksha antare ha'ila premera prakasha desha agamana purna premera vilasa. Translation. In Gaya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was initiated by Ishvara Puri, and immediately afterwards he exhibited signs of love of Godhead. He again displayed such symptoms after returning home. Purport. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu went to Gaya, accompanied by many of his disciples, he became sick on the way. He had such a high fever that he asked his students to bring water that had washed the feet of a Brahmana. And when they brought it, the Lord drank it and was cured. Therefore, everyone should respect the position of a Brahmana, as indicated by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Neither the Lord nor his followers displayed any disrespect to Brahmanas. The followers of the Lord must be prepared to offer Brahmanas all due respect, but preachers of Lord Chaitanya's cult object if someone presents himself as a Brahmana without having the necessary qualifications. The followers of Lord Chaitanya cannot blindly accept that everyone born in a Brahmin family is a Brahmana. Therefore, one should not indiscriminately follow the Lord's example of showing respect to Brahmanas by drinking water that has washed their feet. Gradually, the Brahmana families have become degraded because of the contamination of Kali Yuga. Thus, they misguide people by exploiting their sentiments. Amagana timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshu unnilitam jena tasmai sri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master has very kindly come, forced open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my most respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Ikshvaku Prabhu was encouraging me yesterday after the feast to share a little bit more of some of the pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur today, as he plans to do tomorrow as well, to keep churning this unlimited ocean of glories of our Param Guru Dev, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, which we will do with a few stories we've noted here a bit later on, but two wonderful purports here by Srila Prabhupada. And this is a very important pastime in Mahaprabhu's youth, his journey to Gaya. So I thought to cover both wonderful discussions. I'd begin as Prabhupada used to say, fluff out the cotton in regard to taking different wonderful verses and purports from Shastra, and then, as we try to do in our classes, elaborate on them. So the elaboration this morning, everyone, will come in the form of a verse regarding this very pastime, the Lord's visit to Gaya, but with commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's very deep and philosophical and historical, so I'm going to read it very slowly. So hopefully we'll all catch the essence. So this is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And this is also the 17th chapter, interestingly, of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Translation, Vrindavan Das Thakur, of course, is the author, the incarnation of Srila Vyasadeva in Gaura Lila. The Lord thus desired to manifest himself, but he thought he should first visit Gaya. The supremely independent Lord Gaurasunda desired to see the holy place of Gaya. Commentary. The purport of the Lord's visit to Gaya is as follows. Sri Gaurasunda desired to visit Gaya in order to personally enact the pastime of accepting the dress of a devotee prior to exhibiting his opulence of being the only shelter of his devotees. One time, the city of Gaya was greatly disturbed by the Buddhists. The Buddhists started a powerful movement there for the purpose of destroying Kamakanda. In order to deliver those who follow Vedic principles from the attack of the Buddhist revolutionaries, Govardhana Vishnu placed his lotus feet on the head of Gaia Asura. The fruitive workers were engaged in torturing Yagneshvara Vishnu in various ways. That is why the Lord manifested his incarnation of Buddha and exhibited the misuse of karma kanda before the eyes of the public, thus refuting his false misconceptions. Later on, the so-called followers of Buddha forgot their constitutional duties of devotional service to Vishnu and accepted Buddha as separate from Vishnu, therefore increasing the darkness of godless philosophy that is opposed to the Vedas. Although the lotus feet of Vishnu were placed on the head of the Buddhist Acharya who was polluted with misconceptions, aversion to pure devotional service was found in the consideration process of those who rejected fruitive activities. Various desires for enjoying the imaginary fruits of material enjoyment replaced unalloyed devotional service to Vishnu in various smritis. Gaurasunda enacted the pastime of visiting Gaia in order to cheat and bewilder ordinary mundane people who are attached to fruitive activities and ignorant of the purport of the Vedas. Since the philosophy of Charvaka was very prominent at that time, anybody know the philosophy of Charvaka Muni? Pretty basic. Yes, that's it, Ramabhasha. Beg, borrow, or steal, somehow or other obtain ghee, prepare nice foodstuffs and enjoy life. That in essence is Charvaka Muni's very mundane philosophy. Since the philosophy of Charvaka was very prominent at that time, faith in the concept of reincarnation was totally lost. Although the concept of reincarnation was accepted by the Buddhists, the transcendental variegated pastimes of the Supreme Lord, who was full in 6 opulences, did not find a place in their understanding. Subduing such Buddhist philosophy, which is opposed to the Vedas, Lord Govardhana Vishnu established at Gaia his supreme lotus feet, which are full of transcendental variegatedness. According to the mantra from Rig Veda, Tredha Nidate Padam, quote, I placed 3 steps. Sri Vamanadev is the predominating deity of Gaia Dham. By worshipping these lotus feet, which are the source of transcendental pastimes, the impersonal conception of the Lord is defeated. Jai Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. So, as we said, this is a very important pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord's visit to Gaia Dham. And there are many wonderful and instructive messages in this travel, which Lord Chaitanya did in his youth after his father Jagannath Misra passed away. And most importantly is the Lord's taking initiation from Srila Ishwara Puri. And it's described elsewhere in Chaitanya Caritamrta and Chaitanya Bhagavat how Lord Gaurasunda had already met Srila Ishwara Puri, one of the foremost disciples of Madhavendra Puri, in Navadvip. In fact, Ishwara Puri had stayed for 3 months in Navadvip, not long before the Lord's trip to Gaia. He actually stayed at the house of Gopinath Acharya. And Mahaprabhu, by his own transcendental arrangement as the Supreme Lord, met Srila Ishwara Puri one day. Their paths crossed on the road, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered obeisances to the Venerable Sannyasi and invited him to his own home for lunch, and served him very nicely. Sachi Mata had cooked a wonderful lunch and offered it to their household deities. And over a period of that 3 months, Lord Gauranga and Ishwarapuri met on a number of occasions, and Ishwarapuri was very much inspired by this young, exceedingly handsome Brahmana, who he understood to be a great Pandit, Nimai Pandit. And he asked him to actually check. He'd written a book, Ishwarapuri, called Sri Krishna Caritamrta. And he asked Nimai Pandit, you please check the grammar of my book. And young Lord Caitanya was a little reluctant to do this as a junior person, but still he did. And he did actually find one error, one verb, which he thought was not being correctly used. And he brought that to the attention of Ishwarapuri, who was very grateful. But then after some days, Ishwarapuri came back and said, no, actually, I think the verb I first used was correct. And Nimai Pandit said, yeah, no, that's okay. So they had some nice connection there. Sambandha, Abhidaya and Prayojana. Sambandha means to connect, reconnect in our case, when we've forgotten Krishna. So some connection was already there, which was further enhanced and developed when Mahaprabhu visited Gaya. And it's also, before we get to his initiation, it's said that Gaya, as Prabhupada has so beautifully described and condensed the essence here, is a very famous Vishnu Tirtha, where thousands of pious Hindus go whenever there has been a death in the family, especially father, mother, grandparents, uncles, aunties, like that. But and these different sacrifices which are performed there, Pinda Dana, it will relieve the departed soul from some unfortunate situation that they may find themselves in after the demise of this present body, by offering sacrifices to Lord Vishnu. Garlands by the hundreds are offered to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, sandalwood pulp, and of course the Brahmins there chant all the different mantras for the worship of the Lord and do all the different pujas and sacrifices involved. They're said to be very aggressive, which is quite common in holy places in India, especially nowadays as Kali Yuga has progressed. Not in all cases. Actually, Indradumna Swami took a small party of devotees to Gaya maybe 6 months ago. We saw some photos. In fact, I think did Parthasarathi go, or maybe one of her daughters went. Anyway, I think I saw a small group of devotees. So, but it looked like they were being respectfully received. But in some cases, the Brahmins there can be very, very demanding for money, for Lakshmi donations, because that's how they support themselves and their families, as Prabhupada goes on to say in the last part of the second purport. Gradually the Brahmana families have become degraded because of the contamination of Kali Yuga. Thus they misguide people by exploiting their sentiments. So naturally people go there, they want to do the best for their forefathers, but whilst they're there, they're completely at the mercy of some Brahmin priests who may be very demanding. So, but it's said that Lord Caitanya didn't give the priests there, when they performed the different rituals for his father, he didn't give them any money, but he satisfied them by his sweet words. They were satisfied by Mahaprabhu's sweet words. But on the way, as said, the Lord did experience a very high fever, and he asked that the water that had washed one Vaishnav Brahmin, and this is borne out in other commentaries, that not just any Brahmana, because anyone can wear a 2 paisa thread across their shoulder and say, I'm a Brahmana, I was born in a Brahmana, but actually a Vaishnava, a devotee of Vishnu, Brahmana, specifically asked for the water that had washed their feet, and he drank that and was cured of his high fever. And another interesting point, which is we often read in Caitanya Caritamrta and also in Caitanya Bhagavat commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Prabhupada always repeats the instructions from his Gurudev, and those instructions quite often involve how to get to these different places. That if you catch this particular train on this particular rail line and you get off here and then you get on there, you'll actually get to this sacred tirtha where either Gauranga Mahaprabhu or some of his great devotees performed wondrous pastimes. And the implication is that we should actually go there. We should actually follow those directions kindly left behind by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati to catch this particular train on this particular line and get off here, and then and quite often those just directions are very explicit. And of course, many of us have visited in the past, been fortunate to go to as many holy tirthas as possible, sometimes in an organized group or sometimes with a smaller group of devotees. We're very grateful for those opportunities because some of us are getting a little old now, and to travel around India can be very austere, as much as we want to go and pay our respects. So we're grateful in our younger days, when we were a little bit more fit and healthy, to do like that, following Siddhanta Saraswati's directions. So, and it's in Gaya Dham that Mahaprabhu, for the first time after his initiation from Srila Ishwara Puri, started to manifest his ecstatic mood. Profuse tears flowing from the Lord's transcendental eyes, and his feelings of ecstasy and separation from Krishna in the association of Ishwara Puri. And it's said that, and the other wonderful instruction for all of us is the vital importance, the essential ingredient in bhakti is to accept initiation from a bona fide spiritual master. It was interesting yesterday, I was thinking how Srila Prabhupada first met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati when he was 25 years old in 1922. But he didn't take initiation from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati until 11 years later in Prayag. Prabhupada did say, after their first meeting, I accepted him within my heart as my Gurudev. Initiation was like an official acceptance. But within his heart, Prabhupada said, I immediately accepted him from that, after that very first meeting. So, and we see that in the course of history, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Gaurasunda, or Krishna himself, accepted. He and Balaramji went to the ashram of Sandipani Muni and stayed there even as young boys, and learnt all different knowledges, 64 arts and sciences, even though Vairaischa Savera Hameva Vejo Vedanta Krit Vedanta Vet Eva Chaham. By all the Vedas I am to be known, Krishna says. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta in the form of Vyasadeva, and I am the knower of the Vedas as well. So even the Supreme Lord, Sandilya Muni is another great sage who was there associating with Nanda Maharaj and the other Gopas and Gopis of Braj a little bit and lived for a very long time. And there were other brahmanas and priests advising. So Krishna sets the ideal example, and Lord Ramachandra also, Vasishta and Vishvamitra Munis were the priests and spiritual guides of Lord Ramachandra and his King Dasarath and his family. So that example is there. So Mahaprabhu, is that a bird on the roof or a crackling in the microphone? Or Hare Krishna. So yes, and another interesting fact about Gaya is it is the place of the Falgu River. And there are, of course, many rivers like this all over the world. We have them here in Australia and in dry, hot climates like Africa. There are rivers. The Falgu means false, and the Falgu River flows there in Gaya sometimes, probably during the monsoon season, but at other times it appears just to be like a dry riverbed. But it's considered very sacred. And Mahaprabhu actually, as is the custom, he went to the Falgu River and he got some sand from that river. And there are some Vedic rituals where the sand from that river is actually offered to one's forefathers. So, and our acharyas like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srila Prabhupada, they quite often mention this Falgu River. In the example of, apart from Vaishnavas, there are many Falgu Vairagis. Vairagya means renunciation, or false renunciants. And just like a riverbed in the dry season appears there's no water flowing there, but if you dig down into that riverbed and put your arm down, you will feel a current. You may even feel some moisture because the water is still flowing underneath, maybe some meters down, deep down, but still there is a current. And this example is used to describe Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Atta Eva Shanta. That all the other different types of personalities we find in the universe, the Bhuktis, gross sense enjoyers, the Muktis, those who are aspiring for liberation or moksha, Siddhis, yogis who just want mystic powers, and the Karmakandis, those who want to perform some ritualistic sacrifices for promotion to heavenly abodes. All of them are ashanta, which means not peaceful. Only the Krishna Bhakta Nishkama, which means no desires, Atta Eva Shanta. They're the only ones, devotees, are actually peaceful because they don't want anything. They're not aspiring for this or that. So this example is quite often given of the Falgu River in Gaya. And another wonderful pastime which happened in Gaya was Mahaprabhu cooking for himself, and then, because he is the Supreme Lord, Super Soul, he inspired Ishwarapuri to come to where he was staying at the very time the Lord had cooked a meal for himself. So Lord Caitanya, at this very time, offered what he'd just cooked to Srila Ishwarapuri. Ishwarapuri said, and Lord Caitanya said, I will cook again for myself in a heartbeat. It's not a problem. You eat this. I've just cooked it. Ishwarapuri suggested, well, why don't we split it in half and eat together? And Lord Caitanya said, no, you eat everything. And then it said that Ramadevi, the goddess of fortune, she immediately appeared and cooked for Lord Gauranga. wonderful place, a wonderful pastime, and it was at that time that Lord Caitanya begged Srila Ishwara Puri to initiate him into essentially the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, Krishna mantra. And Ishwara Puri accepted Mahaprabhu as his disciple on that particular occasion. And it's said that Ishwara Puri appeared not far from Gaya, and Lord Caitanya went there also with his students and took some of the sand from the house of Ishwara Puri's appearance, and he kept that sand with him. So, and then he said to his students who'd come with him, "You all go back to Navadvip. I'm going to Mathura." So, and the Lord decided and actually headed off early in the morning without anybody else. But just as he was walking on the road, an unembodied voice from the sky said, "It is not the time to go to Mathura now. Go back to Navadvip and perform Harinam Sankirtan. Inaugurate the Yuga Dharma, the religion for the age, congregational chanting of Krishna's holy names." So he did that, Lord Caitanya. He went. He rejoined his students, and they returned to Navadvip. So that's a little bit about Mahaprabhu's wonderful visit to Gaya. And I thought we've got a little bit. We'll just try to continue churning the nectar. I was thinking also this morning while coming here that some of us probably, not probably, won't live long enough, otherwise I'd be 120 years old, to see the 200th anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But we have many younger devotees here still in their teens or their early 20s. And I was thinking how wonderful if they stay with Krishna consciousness for the next 50 years. That will mean they will be perhaps around 70 years of age. Now, what a glorious celebration that will be. And I was thinking, what a glorious celebration, who knows, as the Sankirtan movement continues to expand, the 100th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance in this. What a celebration that will be all over the planet. So I was thinking, I really hope our younger devotees do stay with Krishna consciousness, continue practicing, because the festivities will just, these modern day pastimes of Lord Caitanya are just going to keep going on and on and on, and getting bigger and bigger and more ecstatic. It will just be, and perhaps some of us will come back and grow up and continue participating in them. So just a few wondrous pastimes, of further pastimes. All right, so I just don't know where to start here. There's so many wonderful. All right, I meant to research a little deeper, but there was the first disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Didn't get a chance to research his name. Anyway, he was looking for a guru in West Bengal, and he thought he'd found a Vaishnava guru, Grihasta, but this particular personality was a member of one of the 13 upper sampradayas, or groups of so-called followers of Mahaprabhu identified by Bhaktivinoda Thakur as inauthentic. But still, somehow or other, this person had spoken some nice, inspiring words to this young man. So he was thinking, I should take initiation from this person. And he was planning to do that. But almost at the same time, he met for the first time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who at that time was living in Mayapur and performing his vrata of chanting 1 billion holy names of Krishna, living very austerely, as we heard yesterday. So he became very inspired and thought, well, perhaps Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is my guru. He couldn't decide. That night he had a dream, and the Upper Sampradaya guru and his wife appeared in the form of a tiger and a tigress, and they were eating him alive. So that nightmare concluded very quickly, and as soon as even before it got light, that aspiring devotee, he started walking to Mayapur, and as soon as he got there, he begged Siddhanta Saraswati for initiation. That's quite a dramatic first disciple. There was one, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati travelled extensively throughout India. Preaching programs would be arranged in towns, cities, and villages, and many, many people would come. Sometimes not so many, but in many instances, because he was being known as a Mahabhagavat, Paramahamsa Vaishnava, many people would come. On one occasion, one elderly, very short, frail Bengali Gaudiya Vaishnava widow came to one of the programs, and afterwards she very much wanted to give Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati a gift. All she had, because she was very poor, were a few paisa and 4 limes. And she tried to get as close as she could, but he was surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of people, and she wasn't able to get close enough to give her gift. So somehow or other, one brahmachari said he would give those gifts to Siddhanta Saraswati. He took them, but she was a little disappointed. She didn't get to personally offer obeisances in the dust of his feet. So this brahmachari, he took those gifts, and as Siddhanta Saraswati was leaving, and the throng, the enormous crowd dissipated somewhat, he gave it. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he said, you go back and you find her and you bring her here. So this brahmachari went back and through the crowd, and it took some time, eventually found the elderly lady, and he brought her there, and she was so happy. She just was swimming in ecstasy. She got to offer obeisances, and he gave her some blessing to be a great devotee of Krishna, which no doubt she already was. But he was not inattentive to, even though he was preaching to very important people of the time. I always found that a very touching, very moving story. Perhaps we'll just tell one more. Before that, we'll never forget, in 2017, one Saturday morning here at the temple, unbeknownst to us, perhaps we had observed it, a number of persons came from Brisbane and the Gold Coast. They were followers of Ramanujacharya, and it was his 1000th anniversary of his appearance. 1017, whatever the date was. Sripad Ramanujacharya appeared. So these devotees, Vaishnavas, came here to the temple. Perhaps there isn't a large temple of the Ramanuja Sampradaya in Brisbane or the Gold Coast, I don't know. But they came here, and many of them are dressed very nicely with big Ramanuja tilak in saris, dhotis, and they're very respectful and very nice. And I always remember that, 1000th anniversary. Prabhupada had a very dear godbrother, Dr. O.B.L. Kapoor. He had a PhD in Sanskrit, and he tells the story of how he became a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He and Prabhupada were quite close. Their families were quite close. They were living in Prayag around the same time, early 1930s. And there are a number of stories. Dr. Obiol Kapoor, who was given the initiated name Adikeshava Das by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he was brought up in a family of followers of Shankaracharya. He was, in our ISKCON colloquialism, a hardcore Mayavadi. So, and when disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta first came to Prayag, they were going door to door, canvassing, inviting people to their new humble center to come to kirtans and hear Bhagavat discourses. And they got into a philosophical discussion with Adikeshava, who wasn't then initiated. He was Dr. Obiol Kapoor. And they couldn't defeat him. They couldn't defeat his arguments, Mayavad. But they said, our Guru Maharaj is here giving some classes. Perhaps you might like to come and talk with him, have some philosophical discussion with him. So Dr. Kapoor agreed to do that. And that night he went to the mutt. And he said when he and his wife walked in, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his gaze just fell on him, eye to eye, intense. And they took their seats. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was not accustomed so much to speak on Krishna's confidential pastimes in 10th canto of Bhagavatam. More, he spoke on Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads, and other Puranas, all in relationship to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna. But immediately, and his disciples there said it was quite profound because he immediately switched from what he was talking about to discussing very wonderful pastimes of Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. And Dr. Kapoor, his mind changed. By the end of that discussion, he had a profound change of heart. And he discussed, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati invited him. They spoke after the lecture, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, well, if you're not doing a lot at the moment, I'm traveling around some holy places here. You can travel with me, and we can have more discussions, and you can... So he agreed to do that. And even though he had some doubts and he had some questions, over the period of the coming days, systematically all his doubts were erased, and he became his disciple. So, and there's many other nice pastimes of Dr. Kapoor and Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was very respectful to him. And of course those pastimes are there, was mentioned yesterday, and some of the devotees, this wonderful book that some of us have a copy of by our departed God sister, a friend to all, Mula Prakriti's wonderful interviews with personalities like Dr. Kapoor, who she took the trouble to go around India on what is said a good hunch, a wing and a prayer with just a tape recorder, and she recorded many wonderful remembrances of Srila Prabhupada with previous associates in India. So I'll stop there. We have a few minutes. If anyone has question, comment. I don't know if we have microphone this morning, but we can repeat. Yes, Prabhu? Yes, in the sense that everyone has a relationship with Krishna. It's lying dormant, just like fire is dormant in wood. When wood comes in contact with a sufficiently powerful heat source, then that wood bursts into flames. So similarly, when we're fortunate to get the association of devotees, they may be beginning devotees, they may be intermediate or they may be very advanced devotees, but still that connection or that relationship with Krishna it's like, another example we could use is iron filings and a powerful magnet. As soon as those iron filings get close enough to the magnet, they just go. Some of us may remember as little boys playing with magnets. It was one of the toys we were allowed to have. So similarly, when we get close enough to Krishna in the form of his devotees, his temples, deities, books, transcendental literatures, prasadam, the holy names, Nama Chintamani Krishnas Caitanya Rasa Vigraha Punashuddha Nitya Mukta Bina Tvam Nama Nameno. Krishna and his name are non-different. That's why we go out on Harinam, distribute transcendental literatures. So, Sambandha, yes, reconnecting, making that connection. And being told, this is who I am. I'm eternal servant of Krishna. Krishna's God. It's a wonderful revelation, a realization. Krishna consciousness is a process of reuniting. Prabhupada always used to give, I think it's the prodigal son analogy, that a young lad leaves home, goes off to a foreign country, ends up in a poverty-stricken condition. A friend of the family happens to see them lying in the gutter, not to be over dramatic, but in this poverty-stricken condition, says, "Oh, my dear boy, you're the son of so-and-so. Your father's a really rich man. What are you doing here in this impoverished condition? You should go back to your home. Your father's concerned about you. He has abundant wealth, can look after you very nicely." So, yeah, is that okay? A few thoughts? All right. Okay. All right, the bell has tolled, everyone. Jai. Sri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.